Alright guys, we're going to be starting off learning how to make something super simple. We're going to be focusing on this here paper airplane, which is basically just a bunch of different types of triangles all put together. So we're already in Canva, we already got everything up. We're going to go into shapes, and pretty much the only thing we're going to be working with is shapes and colors. Now I've already built this paper airplane. I'm going to disassemble it and show it to you guys, and we're going to rebuild it together. So let's talk about the different triangles that are in here. We're going to straighten this out to where this main triangle is almost pointing straight up and down. You see we have our standard. It's more of an isosceles than it is an equilateral triangle. And we're not going to go into too much mathy stuff, but some of this is just good to know as basic terms. So here we have our triangle, and it's just a classic triangle. We've elongated it to make it an isosceles. Then we have a series of semi-right triangles. We have a small one here, we have a large one here, and we have another one here. That's only 4 shapes to make this guy. Put all the way back together, you can see it creates a really cool 3D effect once you add in the coloring. So let's talk about the coloring real quick. If I were to take all of the all of the rightist triangles and make them the same color, what happens to this? It doesn't look good. It doesn't look right. It looks funny, you know. And you could try and play with it, you know, by doing stuff like this and leveling it out a little bit, but even then it still just looks wrong, you know. By the same token, if I took everything and just made it the same color, well, now it just looks really weird. I have a triangle with a triangle sticking out of the back. And this is meant to show you how important color is. You know, using different hues and shades and tints and tones is going to make a big difference for how your image is received. And it doesn't just have to be yellows and oranges. You know, you could do the same thing with different shades of grays. Not necessarily that you want to make it in gray. That's not very fun, but, you know, same principles right there. And we're moving, you know, from a lighter to a medium to a dark. And think about if you were looking at this image in real life. Let's say you had a paper airplane in front of you. You know, where the light source is hitting, that's going to be the brightest part. And then where the light source isn't hitting as well, that's going to be, you know, darker to medium. And then where the light source is barely hitting at all, or maybe the light source is reflecting off of something else onto the bottom, that's going to be the darkest. And, you know, light can come from a million different directions depending on, you know, if your light source is the sun or a lamp or what have you. But just to keep it easy for us, we're going to be talking about predominantly light coming from, you know, top down or the sun. So let's go ahead and build this guy. And we're going to delete him. We're just going to start from scratch. We are going to need a regular triangle. And we're going to take them, we're going to thin them up just a little bit. And I don't really like working with boring colors if I don't have to. So we're going to start off with yellow. Yet again, you can pick any color you want. Just make sure you have a series of colors. Like for instance, you have light blue, blue, regular blue, and then purple. And you know, that could be fun. Let's see how that looks. And if not, we'll change it back to the yellow and orange tones. So we're going to start off with our nice normal triangle. Then we're going to get our right triangle. We need to bring him around. And we're going to center him. Shrink him down. And there's no real rule for how far or how short you're going to go on this. You know, technically a paper airplane has a crease all the way out, but if you do the crease all the way out, it just looks funny. So I usually just shoot for somewhere half-ish. You could do a little forward or a little back. A lot of it just kind of depends on your personal flavor. So we're just going to, no real measurement, just kind of go somewhere in the middle. I'm going to thin them up a little bit there because I want it to look like a crevasse in the middle of the paper airplane. I don't want it to look like a, I don't want it to look funny and look off-centered. Because if I had the edge of the far edge of the triangle over here all the way out here, it would look like you misfolded the paper airplane. And again, we're trying to create a little bit of an optical illusion. Then we're going to rotate them. And we're going to need a couple more right triangles. So I'm just going to copy the triangle that we already have after I get the coloring right. And we need one right triangle right here. And we're We're going to zoom in once we get all our shapes together and match them up, so I'm not super duper worried right now about making it perfect. Then we need a second right triangle. And this is going to be our dark purple triangle. So we're going to go ahead and change him. That way he's a little bit easier to see. So there we have our rough shape. Now you can tell our corners aren't perfect, but you can get the idea. And it looks good in blue. It doesn't look bad at all. So let's go ahead and let's zoom in and let's get it all cleaned up. And it's not going to be a perfect fit, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it look perfect. And it's kind of just a little sneaky thing, because you can see it's not lining up exactly right. But if I cheat a little and bring this in and bring this up and then move the position to back, it looks almost like I lined it up perfectly, right? So don't think you have to sit there for 3 hours, moving it pixel by pixel by pixel. It's okay to kind of take it too far one way and then use your layers to your advantage. And down here, we're going to do something similar. Because I am going to do my best to get this right, but if I have to, I'm going to cheat a little with my layers. Actually, I think I'm going to get it right on the money. And then we have down here, more of the same, and bam. So that's pretty very straight for that amount of time. And there we go. We have our paper airplane. Now, what could you do with this? Obviously you could, group it, make it smaller, make it more paper airplane sized, make a whole bunch of them. And if you're trying to do something kind of company logo-esque, you could do your logo down here and, do some slogan about soaring higher to meet your needs, or venturing farther, some type of quick and catchy copywriting. If you're doing something kind of playful, you could take them, have them kind of go in different directions. And then if you wanted to be really creative about it, you could draw a little line going behind all of them. And this is going to be a lot of very tedious work, but I'm sure you guys have seen the cartoons where you have the little line and then it just needs to be a bunch of dashes. And I'm going to cheat here. As opposed to making a ton of little boxes, I am just going to make a bunch of bars. And I'm not trying to make this perfect because this isn't something I'm actually going to use. And you could just keep coming. And you would need to straighten this with a guide box if you're actually going to do something like this. But yet again, we're just trying to give you the idea today, or right now. So there you go. You got the little line, and you could kind of level it up with the airplane. And you could take that and kind of stretch it out. And again, you could use that in a fun kind of commercial marketing way. Or if you're just trying to make like a fun illustration with paper airplanes, that can kind of add a little bit of whimsy to it. And there's a lot of the little things you could do. You could use this guy to kind of add some curvy elements to the line. Again, we're just going to try and make this really quick. But you could start to envision where if I had these guys kind of set up in this fashion, where it would look like the plane was kind of wobbling as it flew. Again, all up to your imagination, depending on what you think looks good. But that's a paper airplane, and that's a good place for us to start. So the things that we covered here that are important: using simple shapes in unique ways and building them together to make more unique shapes, and bringing that all together with different types of coloring. And, yet again, light, medium, dark. And if our light source is coming from the bottom, and we'll do that real quick, we would do it the exact opposite. Now the blue would still stay the same, but you'd have purple on top, and you have the light blue on bottom. And if that's the vibe you're going for, this looks a little bit more sci-fi-y to me than realistic. That could be really cool too. But we're going to stop right there, and we're going to go ahead and move on. And I hope you guys enjoyed that quick lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.